Hello, oh my gosh, hello everybody in YouTube land. I hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday, which is when this video is released. Today we're going to be talking about the new player guide for Lily Chen, who was just released in the Edge of the Earth expansion for the people in the world who have it, and then for the people in North America and everywhere else who they don't have it, you just got to keep waiting and be patient, but we're going to talk about Lily Chen and our beginner guide for her here today. So if you don't know what our beginner guides are, we are building this deck with only 2 copies of the core set and all of the cards from the cycle in which she came, which is conveniently, hey, Edge of the Earth, look at that. And which all come in one box this time. So it's just so easy to get all the player cards. Wow. In addition, if you only have, going back to the 2 core sets, if you only have 1 copy of the core set, we recommend picking up a second. It provides more consistency, or alternatively, just wait until they have the updated core set, which should be coming out probably in the near future, probably around Christmas maybe, which is 2 copies of all the cards. So you don't need to buy 2 copies of the core set anymore. Yes! They've done it. It's a great day to be an Arkham Horror the card game fan. Last but not least, you might have heard of something if you're just starting out called the not the reserve list, that's Magic the Gathering, the taboo list, which is kind of some changes to balance certain cards, either buffing them or nerfing them. We recommend if you're just starting out to ignore the taboo list and also ignore the reserve list. That's not even for this game. And just play with the cards that's printed. Trust me, it's fine when you're just starting out, and it makes it more fun. And then when you get bored of that, then bring the reserve list in. So Lily Chen, as all of the Edge of the Earth investigators are, she's purple on the front and something different on the back. So she is a purple Mystic cards level 0, Guardian cards 1 to 5, and then up to 5 other Guardian cards at level 0. So she starts as like a Mystic coloring, but then she's going to be turning into a Guardian as the game goes on and on. Her deck building requirements that do not count toward deck size are 1 Burden of Destiny, which you can just see to the right of the back of her card, as well as 1 Burden of Destiny for each discipline asset you have, and then 1 random basic weakness. She also cannot use firearm assets because, as Bryn said as we were getting ready to film this video, what kind of martial artist would she be if she just shot you in the head? And then her additional requirements is at deck creation, choose a discipline and asset to add to your deck. It is considered part of your deck building requirements. For every 15 experience you've earned in total, you may choose and add a different discipline asset to your deck. So Bryn, I'm going to pass Lily Chen and her personals to you, so go for it.
All right. So first up, we got the Burden of Destiny, which is a flaw, revelation. You must either choose one, flip a discipline you control to its broken side, it cannot flip back this round, or take 1 damage and 1 horror. It doesn't seem like particularly harsh, which is good because you might end up with 3 or 4 of them in your deck, depending on how many disciplines you end up adding. The first discipline we've got here is Alignment of Spirit. Lily Chen deck only, permanent. You get +1 Brain. As an action, you can take 1 direct damage to heal 3 horror, or take 1 direct horror to heal 3 damage. Put this asset over. I appreciate this one mostly because this is what Classic Lily did.
Yes.
Where you got to shuffle your damage around. And I think that's kind of cool. The flip side just doesn't do anything. And as a reaction, after the round ends, if you took no damage or horror this round, put this asset back over to its unbroken side.
Sweet. And then the next one?
Then we've got the discipline Balance of Body. This one is you get +1 foot, and as an action, 1 at a time, take up to 3 different fight or evade actions. Flip this asset over. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. And its flip side doesn't have any beneficial effects, and as a reaction, after the round ends, if no enemies were at the same location as you at any point this round, flip this asset back over to its unbroken side. Got the discipline, the present. Is it presence or prescience?
It's prescience, yeah.
Prescience of Fate. This one gives us +1 punch. As an action, you get +5 skill value for the next skill test you perform this turn. After that skill test ends, you flip this over. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity.
Dude, +5 is so high.
That's like a real big number. On the other side, to flip it back, as a reaction after the round ends, if you performed no skill tests this round, this asset over to its unbroken side.
That's kind of tricky. That's a tough one.
Yeah. Like no skill tests?
Yeah, because the Mythos phase could force it out of you.
Yeah, but at least the Mythos phase happens first, so you'll know whether you performed a skill test or not before you go punting your turn away to try to flip it back.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's something.
Yeah, that was nice.
You can also like force your way through it with cards like Ward of Protection.
Yeah,
This is true.
Definitely. Yep.
Yeah.
Because what's the best thing of discipline than just like, cheating with magic, right?
Yeah, right. Everybody knows that's what discipline's all about.
Yeah. And then the last one here, Bryn.
We've got the it's the quintessence.
No, I think it's the
Quiescence. Quiescence of thought. Whatever. Anyway, it's the book one. As an action, if you have fewer than 5 cards in hand, draw until there are 5 cards in your hand. This asset over. The flip condition on the other one on the backside is, as a reaction after the round ends, if your hand did not have 2 or more cards in it at any point this round, put this asset back over to its unbroken side.
Did not have 2 or more.
Yeah. Right? So you gotta have 1 or less. Right?
If your hand did not have 2 or more.
That's a weird way to phrase that.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, because did not have 2 or more is the same as saying if you had 1 or less, right?
Yeah. Interesting.
Anyway, I'm not a game designer. I don't choose these things.
Yeah, there's a reason for their language.
Yeah. I think this one is the weirdest one, and the one that has possibly the highest potential. Like, if you're building around it, this card might be crazy.
Yeah. I think, just looking at them, it seems like a good one too if like you're going into it's like I hit 30 experience, I'm probably this is my last discipline, let's do it, because it's just like, it eventually also just reads like 5 cards, right?
Yeah.
It's less like for the book and more just like, here's draw up to 5.
Yeah, obviously the +1 book is worth the least because we only have 2 book baseline, and this only puts us up to 3, which is not really a serviceable number. Like, we still need another card in order to make that do something.
Yeah.
They probably worded that effect the way it is. That way all 4 of them on the backside said that you need to not do something.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Sick.
Just keep the template the same.
So yeah, as you can see with Lily, you kind of have a lot of options for what you want to do with her, and her ability is just you begin the game with each discipline in your deck unbroken side face up, because it'd kind of be bonkers if she had more abilities, because these are her abilities. Yeah, I like the brain one too, just because of the classic Lily. But
yeah, it's got the classic Lily effect. The other 2, the punch and the foot one, are both neat.
I like the effect on the foot one, the fight up to take 3 different fighter evade actions. Just like you just kick them 3 times in the face. Oh, so sick. So sick. Travis.
What?
Why don't we start talking about the cards in the deck, starting with the core set cards?
Okay. So we got Machete. It's a level 3 weapon that fights, and you get +1 punch for attack. If the attack enemy is the only enemy engaged with you, this attack deals +1 damage. In most cases, you can probably finagle it that you're only engaged to 1 enemy at a time, and, like, +1 damage is where you want to be, so this card is pretty good.
If you got the foot discipline, you can use it to evade one of the extra enemies that are engaged with you, then chop the one that's left with the machete, and then do another thing.
Or just like the true martial...
That's kind of true.
Or the true martial artist master, just use it to hack someone 3 times with a machete. Just
I think they have to be different.
Yeah. Oh, they have to be different?
I think they have to be different fight actions.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
Bad.
Yeah. So.
Next up, we got Scrying. This is a 1-cost asset with 3 usage charges. As an action, you can exhaust and spend a charge to look at the top 3 cards of any Investigator's deck, or the entire deck return to the top of the deck in any order. You can use this to like try and find a weapon if you're looking for one, like your Shriveling runs out of charge or something like that, or to try and set up a turn where you can flip over that one discipline that requires you not to make any tests. But if we're being honest, this card is here to take up one of your arcane slots, as we will see, and it is necessary for one of the feature cards. That's why it's in the deck. Then we got Shriveling. This card actually like pulls its weight. It's a 3-cost asset, commits for a punch, takes up an arcane slot, 4 uses as charges. As an action, you can spend them with charges to fight, uses brain instead of fist, and deals +1 damage. And then if you reveal one of the symbol tokens, you take a horror. It's like a gun, but it's magic. You might have to work like a little bit to get your brain score high enough for this to be like a good.
Yeah.
But speaking of making your brain score higher, we have this Holy Rosary here. This is a 2-cost asset that takes up your accessory slot, commits for a brain, and then just gives you like a static brain all the time. And it can take 2 brain damage for you too. Pairs really nicely with that Shriveling. Great card to have.
Heck yeah. We got Arcane Initiate. It's a 1-cost asset that commits for a brain. Takes up the ally slot. Takes 1 damage, 2 horror. After it enters play, place 1 doom on it. As a lightning bolt, you can exhaust Arcane Initiate to search the top 3 cards of your deck for a spell and draw it. Shuffle your deck. This is great for grabbing things like Ward of Protection, also for your Scrying and your Shriveling if you need to fill your arcane slots for the weapon we're going to be talking about coming up in the near future. Yeah, and just a all-around nice card. Just you might want to plan for it if like don't play it if like Doom's going to advance because of it. Like wait a turn and then like have it take off. Just something you have to be aware of when you're playing with Arcane Initiate, or alternatively have a plan for it to die. And that plan might be Guard Dog coming into play. Guard Dog is a 3-cost asset, commits for a fist, takes up the ally slot, 3 damage, 1 horror. As a reaction, when an enemy attack deals damage to Guard Dog, deal 1 damage to that attacking enemy. So Guard Dog's great for maybe eating an attack during the enemy phase, eating an attack of opportunity, and then maybe killing something in the process, especially when you're just starting out. If you only have a core, you're probably playing the Knight of the Zealot, which is like the Gathering, Midnight Masks, and the Devourer below. This is a great way for dealing with those acolytes that might show up. You can engage one and then just move, and then it attacks the Guard Dog, and the Guard Dog kills it because he is a good dog. Next up here is we got Emergency Cash. It's an event that costs 0, gain 3 resources. Your economy, make some money. You're going to be wanting to do that because the things you're going to be playing are expensive. Your spells, your weapons, your guard dogs, all of that stuff, having more money is a good thing. Ward of Protection over here is a 1-cost event. It's a spell and a spirit fast. Play when you draw a non-weakness treachery card. Cancel that card's revelation effect, then take 1 horror. Very strong card. Saying no to the game when it's trying to hurt you is good. You're going to have like pretty good brain for this because of the Holy Rosary and maybe the brain discipline when you get more experience. And then so like the Mythos deck isn't too much of a problem. But this just makes it so those things like Ancient Evils or Treachery cards that would be a problem aren't a problem. Bryn, I think you have won the lottery this week. You do. You get to talk about guts.
Nerd.
All right, we got Fearless. Fearless commits for a brain, and if the skill test is successful, heals a horror from you. You know, less damage on you is mostly a good thing. We got Guts. So, Guts is good because unlike the other 3 skills, Brain doesn't have an inherent use in the game. So the game uses it to attack you. They will force you to make a brain test, and if you fail, something bad will happen to you. Guts gives you +2, and then replaces itself when you succeed, because you probably will succeed. You've got 3. 3 + 2 is 5. 5 is a big number. Lastly, because we're playing purple, we have all kinds of options for cards that we can use to make our brain do something to the game, so we can use the Guts offensively as well. Where, you know, they can use it while attacking with a Shriveling, or... Actually, I think that might be it in this deck, but I promise there are other options.
Yes, especially when your collection starts getting bigger.
We got Overpower. sometimes you want to fight a guy, but he's got 5 fight and you only have 5 fight with your weapon. You just want to hit him harder.
Mm-hmm.
You draw a card when if the test is successful, so it basically didn't cost you anything. We got Unexpected Courage, which is like Guts, only we don't draw a card. But in exchange, we get the flexibility of it can be applied to any test that we choose, or any test that anyone at our location is attempting. We can give them +2 as well. Does a lot of work for a level 0 card.
Man, I swear I'm going to be on my deathbed in like 80 and I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night screaming, Guts is good because the game fights you with... And then Julie's going to be like, what's wrong? I'm like,
Alzheimer's like in a home and they're like keeps mumbling about this Guts thing.
Yeah.
Testing brain and...
Alright, Travis, let's talk about these Edge of the Earth cards that are in the starting deck.
Yeah, check out, it's Dragon Pulse, the card I mentioned earlier that is going to care about your arcane slots. Is this the best weapon for Lily Chen to use at level 0 with this collection? There's definitely an argument made for no, but it is the one that's clearly designed for her, so we're not going to not live the dream that they presented to us. But yeah, we got this Dragon Pulse. It's a 3-cost asset. It takes up both hand slots. It gives you an additional arcane slot, which is nice for when we get to some of the upgrades. As an action you can fight, you get +1 punch for this attack for each of your arcane slots that is filled, and if at least 2 of your arcane slots are filled, the attack deals +1 damage. So with this base deck, in a perfect world, this will be like +3 fist and also +1 damage. It's a pretty good place to be at level 0, to be honest, but it is going to make you work for it. Next up, we have Meditative Trance. This is a 2-cost event. For each of your arcane slots that's filled, you either get to heal a damage or a horror, and it commits for a brain or a book. You might, on this channel, hear us say quite often that cards that do nothing except for heal you are bad. Yeah. The next card's Sledgehammer. This is a 3-cost asset that takes up 2 hand slots. As actually, you can fight at -1 punch and deal +1 damage for this attack. That brings you down to 3, and it's not. There's a reason there's only 1 Sledgehammer in the deck. Partially because you're allowed to play 5 Guardian cards, but also like the first action on it is like a little tough to use, and the second action, where you spend 2 actions to fight, you get +2 fist and deal +2 damage for this attack for a total of 3 damage, is much more serviceable. Mm-hmm. And then lastly, we have the Talisman of Protection, which is our other card to sit and occupy an arcane slot for us. It's a 2-cost asset that it's fast. You play only during your turn. You play it under the control of any investigator location. It will take up the arcane slot of the investigator you give it to, so you probably want to play at least the first one under your own. Yeah. As a reaction, when you are assigned damage and or horror that would defeat you, you can discard the Talisman of Protection to cancel up to 2 of that damage and or horror. I suppose this card synergizes with Meditative Trance, where you can it lets Meditative Trance heal you for an extra damage or horror, and in exchange you will not have to break the Talisman of Protection for 1 more damage or horror, and you get to keep it in your arcane slot longer, but you should put a different card instead of Meditative Trance when you get the opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the ones that when you
upgrade,
really should. It can just you just take it out back behind the shed, and
Yeah, it's yeah.
All right, I think we're on to the upgrades. So this is me. I'll talk about these ones. These ones are easy. We got Beat Cop level 4. It's level 2, sorry. It costs 4. You get +1 fist, and as a lightning bolt, you can exhaust Beat Cop and deal 1 damage to it. To deal 1 damage to an enemy at your location, 3 damage to horror for his soak. This guy's really nice because he makes your fist better, which is important for Lily because, as we said, on the front she's a mystic, so you're like, oh, I'm going to focus on her brain. And you can still focus on her brain, but you also, when you start to get into this Guardian side, you're going to want to be looking at your fist too. And this is a great upgrade that can get you there. And Beat Cop, you could put Beat Cop in instead of the Guard Dogs, but the Guard Dogs are cheaper at the level 0, and they just will kind of like, help you progress the game a bit quicker than Beat Cop might if you're worried about money. We also got Police Badge as another upgrade option. It's a 3-cost, 2 experience asset that commits for a brain and a wild item. You get +1 brain, and then as a lightning bolt, when an investigator location is taking his or her turn, you can discard police badge, and that investigator may take 2 additional actions this turn. It takes up the accessory slot. This is nice because it gives you more brain if you are like still sticking with that side of things. As well, it also just more actions that can be used on someone else or yourself when you just really want to punch a bunch of people to ensure that you are, doing your job as the fighter.
Punch a bunch.
Punch a bunch. Or this one's kick a bunch, really, because that's what I picture her doing more. Bryn, Edge of the Earth cards going your way.
All right, we got defensive stance. While it is in your hand or committed to a skill test, it gains punch icons equal to your foot and foot icons equal to your punch. It's like overpower, but number bigger.
Number is bigger.
It also, we can commit it if we would need to evade a thing because maybe we've got a machete as our weapon and we're engaged with 2 enemies. We can commit this for 4 foot symbols. That's a lot of foot symbols. Just a lot of flexibility out of that card.
Card draw, though.
No card draw, though. We got level 2 dodge. So this one, 0 fast play when an enemy attacks an investigator at your location. Cancel that attack, then test foot 1. If you succeed, deal 1 damage to that enemy. We've got 3 foot base, and sometimes more. The card kind of just does work. Not getting hit is better than getting hit most of the time. Except sometimes when it's for not very much damage and you've got a guard dog.
Yeah.
We've got a level 3 combat training. It's 0 to play, it's fast, limit 1 composure in play. You get +1 punch and +1 foot. Non-direct damage / horror must be assigned to combat training before it can be assigned to your investigator card. Note that this does not mean that you can, that you must assign it to the composure first before you can assign it to your allies. Only that you must assign it to the composure before placing it on your investigator card. Firstly, +1 punch, that's sick. That gets us up to 5. 6 if we've got the discipline. +1 foot. Foot's a little less exciting, but still pretty okay. We can make that do things. And as a lightning bolt effect, we can spend money to get better at the 2 things. It soaks 3 meat and 1 horror, which is kind of a lot for a 0-costed asset.
Yeah.
This card just seems pretty okay. Much more the meat and potatoes than the flashy payoff, but still. Then we've got the Fang of Tindalos, which is not what it's called, but that's okay.
That's what we're calling it. That's the name for it on this
channel. That's what I'm calling it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a 3-costed event. It is a spell. Get to fight. Choose an enemy at any revealed location as the target for this attack. Before resolving this attack, you may move to that enemy's location. Add your foot to your punch for this attack. This attack deals +3 damage.
Jesus, this card just does so much.
Yeah, this card reads every time you finish reading a number on this card, it's like, what? Wait.
Yeah.
Number bigger.
Card's just wild.
Yeah.
There's not much to say about it. Just move anywhere on the board, attack 4/7 base, deal 4 damage.
Yeah. It just seems good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 4 experience for a 1-shot effect.
Yeah,
so
it is. This is true.
Yeah.
It needs to be good.
Travis, why don't you take these ones?
Sure. We got the level 2 Barfly Swords. 3 money to play. They take up 2 hand slots. As an action, you can fight. Get +1 punch for the attack. After the attack, you may exhaust the Barfly Swords to fight again, adding your foot to your skill value for that attack. This attack deals +1 damage. So you have 1 attack at base 5, and then you get, once per turn, you have a opportunity to have a second attack at base 7, and the second attack will deal +1 damage. Seems like a pretty good deal for Lily. And we got to our level 5 Barfly Swords. These still cost 3 play and take up 2 hand slots. This one lets you fight. You get +2 fist for the attack. And after the attack, you may fight again, adding your foot to your skill value for that attack. And if both attacks are successful, you may exhaust Butterfly Swords to have the second attack deal +1 damage. So you get for 3 extra experience, you get +1 fist to your first attack. And then you get to make the second attack for quote-unquote like free. And then if the second attack is successful, you may exhaust the Butterfly Swords to deal a third damage.
Wow.
As opposed to the level 2 version where you have to commit to doing the second attack, and you don't get to see if it's successful before you choose whether to exhaust it or not.
I don't know why, but for some reason, Travis, when you read this right now, I was like, oh, this actually is pretty sick. You basically can get like 7 quote-unquote attacks out of it a turn.
Yep.
Oh, man, that's pretty nice.
That is pretty neat. Yeah. Except we've got Sweeping Kick. This is a 1 experience event that costs 1 resource to play. Spirit, Tactic, and Trick. Fight. Add your foot to your skill value for this attack, so you'll be doing it at base 7. And the attack deals +1 damage. If you succeed, you get to automatically evade the attacked enemy.
Strong card.
Yeah, that's just a nice, for 1 experience, it's a pretty good deal. You basically get to probably succeed your attack, deal an extra damage, and evade the guy.
If I can say nothing else, I recommend just use these right away to replace those meditative trances.
Yeah, easy. Easy choice. We got Gang up here. This is a 3-cost event that costs 1 experience to add to your deck. It lets you fight, and for each different class monk cards you control, you get +1 fist and deal +1 damage for the attack. This one you have to build around, work to make it work a little bit. With our base deck here, you will probably have you'll always have a mystic card in play because Lily Chen is a mystic. You'll probably have a guardian card in play, whether it's the machete, the sledgehammer, or the guard dog. And if you're lucky, you'll also have a red card in play between the talisman protection and the sledgehammer.
Yeah.
And so in a perfect world, if this is your first upgrade, it's gonna be like what, +3 fists and +3 damage. It's pretty good. 3 resources is not cheap, but
yeah. Sweet. Alright, we got the Brand of Cthugha. This is a 2-cost, 1 experience asset. It's both a Guardian and a Mystic card. Takes up the spell slot. It's a spell, uses 6 charges in action. You can fight. You may use your brain instead of fist and get +1 skill value for this attack. If you succeed, spend 1 or 2 charges instead of its standard damage. This attack deals 1 damage for each charge spent. If you succeed by 0, lose 1 action. We're going to then hop on over to the level 4 version. Still costs 2, commits for a brain and a fist. Takes up the spell slot, uses 9 charges. For this attack, you may use Brain instead of Fist. You get +2 skill value. If succeed, spend 1, 2, or 3 charges. Instead of its standard damage, this attack deals 1 damage for each charge spent. If you succeed by 0, lose 2 actions. So, big thing to note here is unlike a lot of some of the other spells you might have seen, or like Shriveling earlier in this video, you can use your Fist on this one. And then you also don't have to spend the charges until after you see if you succeed. This is kind of like a cool thing with Lily, where if you're doing Dragon Pull, this just gives you like more things. Like say you're doing Dragon Pull with the discipline that you fight 3 times. This now allows you to evade and then use Brand of Cthugha and then also Dragon Pull to do a fight action. It's kind of just like a nice little option if you want to use something else to fight with, because it's still just like more damage, especially with a smaller collection. Next up here is we got Cyclopean Hammer. Oh boy. 5 cost, 5 experience. It's a Guardian and a Mystic card. Commits for 2 brain and 2 fists. Takes up both hand slots. It's an item, relic, weapon, and a melee. As an action, you can fight. Add your brain to your skill value for this attack. So right off base, it's 7. You deal +1 damage with this attack, and if you succeed and the enemy is non-elite, you may move it 1 location away from you. If you succeed by 3 or more, instead you deal +2 damage, and may move the enemy up to 2 locations away from you. So this is very expensive, both resource-wise and experience-wise, but it packs a lot of damage and power in here. Because now if you have your disciplines out, like say you had the +1 fist and the +1 brain discipline, you're now attacking for 9, which means you're very likely to succeed by 3 or more, which means you're now dealing 3 damage, and if that enemy isn't dead, you can just like say bye for a while, right? Or if it's just something that you can just like get rid of, Cyclopean Hammer can help you do that. Strong card, but it's expensive in both ways. Last up on this slide, we got Nkosi Mabadi. I just somehow fate aligns it so I'm always the one talking about him. He is a 4-cost, 3 experience ally, takes up the ally slot, and he has commits for 2 brain, 2 meat, 2 horror soak on him. And after he enters play, name a non-Elder Sign Chaos token with a symbol. Until this card leaves play, the name symbol is your sigil. As a reaction, when an investigator location reveals a cultist, a tablet, or a squid symbol, exhaust Nkosi Mabadi, search the chaos bag for your sigil and reveal it instead, returning the other chaos token to the bag. This is nice if you want to avoid some of the harsher penalties that those tokens have by replacing it with the skull, or if you have a full collection, which we're not assuming you do for this video. He can work well for if you get Innsmouth and you have that for the Blessed and Cursed archetype as well. Sweet, who's next? It's Bryn. Bryn, you're up. Why don't you finish these ones off for us?
Alright, we got the upgraded Sledgehammer. This one costs 3 and it commits for 3 punch, but probably don't because this card is really cool. It takes up both your hand slots. As an action you can fight, you get +1 and deal +1 damage for this attack. Or as 3 actions, you can fight and get +5 and deal +5 damage.
3 actions.
Yeah, everything about that's pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
But this one is probably a pretty solid upgrade early on, because it is just a consistent way to fight at extra damage. It does take up both your hand slots, which is not perfect. But do you really need another weapon?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It makes me excited because with the flurry kick discipline, because you just take fight actions, you don't have to pay their action cost, right? So you can just sneak this in here. Sneak a +5/+5.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But anyway, it's kind of neat. Then we got Prophetic. This one is a 3-costed asset. It's level 3. Uses 2 resources. Replenish these resources at the start of each round. Resources on Prophetic may be spent to pay for fortune, spell, or spirit cards. As a lightning bolt, during a skill test on a fortune, spell, or spirit card, you can spend one of the resources from Prophetic to get +1 skill value for the test. So this one's just kind of good if you're playing a little bit of a more spell-heavy build. It helps you pay for your stuff, and then when you have paid for your stuff, it makes you better at doing things with the stuff.
Yeah, most notably, there's a couple of the blue cards in like the events that are
Spirits.
spells and/or spirits.
Yeah.
And then last up here, we got Michael Lee. He is a 4-costed ally asset that is level 5. You get +1 book and +1 punch. As a reaction effect, after you successfully investigate, place 1 resource from the token pool on Michael Lee as evidence to a maximum of 3 evidence.
Yep.
When you initiate an attack, you can exhaust Michael Lee and spend 1 evidence. You deal +1 damage for the attack. He also soaks 3 and 3. There's the only part about this card that reads bad is the fact that he costs 5 XP to include in your deck, which is kind of a lot. But every other part of this seems real good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you pick up like an early book discipline.
Yes. Yep.
And then you can just like do things good. Roll around through 4 book and your 5 punch, just crunching things.
So sick.
Just crunching things.
Yeah, that's what
See
I
you
said.
later. All right. Speaking of, hey, everyone on YouTube, see you later. Thank you guys for watching this video. We'll be back next week to discuss another one of the Edge of the Earth investigators. There's a link to the deck list down below. Huge thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the channel. If you want to support the channel as well, you can do that by going down in the description, finding the link to the Patreon page and clicking it. As well, if you're not following the channel, consider subscribing, liking the video, commenting. All that jazz helps us get our videos pushed to more people on the YouTube algorithm. Because we are, I mean, at the very least, I am subservient to that great robot in the sky that is determining who sees these videos and who doesn't. So, everything helps. Help me worship the robot. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good one. And as always, GG's.